Hey everybody, it's James Freeman. Today we bring you a story of a North Carolina state trooper who pulled a guy over for a minor traffic violation and ends up getting killed by his own brother. And I don't mean he was killed by his brother in blue. Well, yeah, it was also his brother in blue, but it was his blood brother. They have the same mother. Unfortunately, the victim of the traffic stop was also killed in this accident. The victim in this incident was 26-year-old Dusty Beck. But while police and mainstream media released pictures of the officer in full dress uniform and pictures with his family and young children, they only released this picture of Dusty Beck, a mugshot. A miles-long funeral procession drives down the freeway honoring the officer that was killed by his own brother's recklessness. But while the police ask for donations and prayers for their fallen officer who was killed by his own brother and fellow officer, they're almost completely silent about the innocent father that they also killed that night. The way that they act almost makes it appear as if they genuinely believe that some lives are worth more or less than others. January 3rd, 2022, roughly 9 p.m., Trooper John Horton pulls over a vehicle for a traffic stop. Police conduct traffic stops to keep the public safe. Trooper John Horton had the victim removed from the vehicle. For officer safety, a backup unit was called in the form of James Horton, another trooper and the brother of John Horton. It is unknown exactly how or why James lost control of his car, as the police department are not releasing very many details. All that is known is that somehow James Horton lost control of his police cruiser while arriving to his brother's traffic stop to back him up for officer safety. We don't know his actual speed, as the police department refuses to release these type of details, but it was fast enough to kill both his brother John Horton and the victim Dusty Beck. I want to point out a couple of things here. Both John Horton and James Horton chose a career of extorting innocent people for money under the guise of it being for safety. Let me also point out that this was not a consensual encounter. In other words, Dusty Beck didn't consent to being on the side of the road with Officer John Horton. It could be assumed that if Dusty Beck tried to leave the area, that Officer John Horton would attempt to chase him or do physical harm to him. Reports claim that Beck was detained by Horton. Since Beck was detained, I can only assume that Officer John Horton made Beck get out of the safety of his car and stand on the side of the road with him. Surely there should be lots of pictures from the scene of the accident, but the police haven't released them. I'm curious, was Dusty Beck's vehicle badly damaged in the crash? Would Dusty Beck have survived if Officer John Horton hadn't forced him to get out of the car? We know he certainly would have survived if Officer James Horton knew how to control his vehicle. I had to really dig to find anything about Dusty because for the most part, all the police and media wanted to talk about was their fallen officer. And yes, it's sad when any life is taken, but the attention paid to the officer and not to Dusty makes it appear as if they believe that police officers' lives are worth more than the lives of the public. Officers didn't line the highway to mourn the loss of the innocent life that they took. No, they only took to the highway to mourn the loss of the officer who died in the exact same accident. Guys, I can't stress this enough. Dusty Beck is the only person that was at that scene that did not consent to being there. He was in police custody when he was killed by the police. There's a link to a GoFundMe created by his sister in the description and in the comments below. Back the blue until it happens to you.